Now she calls herself Mistress Jacqueline, and she's become a fixture in the Los Angeles bondage and discipline subculture. Good morning to you, Jacqueline.
Good morning.
You went to school here, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I went to Boston University.
Studied elementary education?
Yes, I did.
A big leap from that to what you do now.
Isn't it?
Right? Explain what you do. It's bondage and discipline,
yes,
as opposed to sadism and masochism, right?
Well, no, actually the two are interchangeable. Bondage and discipline just connotes a lighter form of sadomasochism. Bondage and discipline is the restriction of somebody and adding the discipline in with it. Sadomasochism can be role plays, or I always think of it as a more sadistic, more heavier kind of session.
Than what you do.
Yeah.
God, there's so much to talk to you about. Some people will be watching this and they'll be liking it because they just like the voyeurism aspect of it.
Yes.
Let me get to know what this kind of a woman is like. Others might say, why even give her airtime? It's crazy. Well, how do you respond to that? To people that don't even want to know that you exist and what you do exists?
Well, that's one reason I've decided to go more public with myself, because I think it's really important that the viewers know that not only that I exist, but that the people that I see exist. Because the people that I see really come from all walks of life. They can be your next door neighbor, they could be your doctor, your lawyer, or the famous actor or actress. A lot of people are into this, either in their head, in their fantasy life, or they're finally coming out of the closet and practicing it. I want to just tell people that it's okay to enact and live out your fantasies, that you don't need to be closeted.
These people need money. A session with you, I was told, runs about $180?
Thereabouts.
For how long?
For generally an hour or two, depending on the scene.
Let's assume kids are not watching, so that you can be as graphic as television will allow. What goes on in a session?
Well, it really depends on what the client is fantasizing about, what he's into. Generally, I find that out way in advance. We talk about the scene that he wants to do, he or she. It can range anywhere from mild bondage, restraints, teasing, to heavier kinds of things such as whipping, spanking. A lot of my clientele is involved in transvestism, cross-dressing. They like to come and dress up as a woman and sort of play the part with me.
How far does playing the part go? I mean, does it begin as the bondage and the discipline and move into the sexual act?
No.
Never?
Never.
Then I was told this by the producer, but I'm having a hard time understanding it. What's the purpose of going to you then if there's no sexual? Isn't the whole thing a sexual turn-on?
Yes, it is, but, well, okay, when you say about sex, there's two aspects of that. On a professional level, where people are coming to me for this service, no, there can't be sex. For one thing, that's an illegal act, and I don't get into anything illegal. And why they can come to me for that is because I offer something extra and ordinary. They can get sex from their wives or girlfriends at home, but they can't get this fantasy at home, because usually they don't want to tell anybody about it. So they can come to me, get that, then bring that scene home in their head and enact it with somebody else. So see, we all have fantasies. We all have masturbatory fantasies, and that's what I help them realize.
So they have to leave you wanting. They get excited, but they can't act on it, is what you're saying.
Well, let's say they don't ever go home feeling unhappy.
What you're saying to me is that it wouldn't be right for you publicly to acknowledge anything other than what you do.
I'm telling the truth. I do not engage in sex with my clients.
Have you ever been hurt? Especially when, let's back up to your story. You answered an ad as a submissive, which means somebody was beat you or disciplined you, right? Mm-hmm. And why did you do that in the first place?
I had fantasies too. This is one reason why I feel very fulfilled in doing what I do for a living, because I know what it was like to go around feeling that there was something a little bit different about me, that why did I think about these things, and why wasn't I fantasizing about a walk on the beach or a picnic in the park? Why was I thinking about something different? And when I finally came out of the closet, so to speak, I really feel this is very much like being what it used to be like to be a gay person. Having something that you feel is different about you, and how do you express this? So finally, when I was a therapist, I had a client who was thinking about these sort of things, and she told me about a newspaper where she found ads, and the next night I went out and bought the paper, and I did it.
You were a clinical psychologist.
Yes.
You have a degree in that,
yes.
right? when you are a submissive, that means that you like pain.
Well, I didn't like pain so much. Again, like most of the people that I see now, it's not so much as pain, but the fantasy of it, the idea of, it's more like power plays, the idea of somebody overtaking somebody else, somebody being in control and losing control. And it's so exciting and thrilling to not know what's going to happen to you, to just be in somebody else's hands. And yet, the whole thing is that you're safe in the whole thing. Because within S&M or B&D, there's two things that are important: lust and trust. Trust being very, very important. This is something between two consenting adults.
But how
with
do
the
you
word
know,
on consensuality.
How do you know that the person you're consenting with is not crazy and will not hurt you?
Well, that's why it's very important in this scene to know who it is that you're going to play with, to get to know them well. In my case, I have a very good reputation, so the people that come to me know that I'm not a lunatic, know that I know just what I'm doing, because that is so important in this scene, to know how to, not only to psychologically understand this, but also to have proper use of equipment, to know how to tie somebody so you're not going to cut their circulation off, to know how to use a crop or a whip so that you won't mark them.
You've had some close calls. I mean, you had a couple of people that passed out, or one person that passed out in a session. That must have been frightening.
Yeah, it was.
Anything else that happened to you that?
Once I had somebody sort of turn on me, but it wasn't anything that, and it was nothing I couldn't handle.
They got physical with you?
A little bit.
But
that's so, you know, I really don't even want to emphasize that, because it's so out of the norm, and I've been doing this now 6 years, and it was 2 isolated incidences in 6 years, and I see many, many, many people.
I read that you say that the most important part for you is sincerity in your
Yes.
clients. What does that mean?
It means that when a client comes to me, I want them to be honest about what it is that turns them on, what it is that they've been thinking about all these years, what it is that they really, really want to enact with me. And I want to know that this is something that's really in them, and it's not just like a passing kick. I really need to know, for me to play with them and be involved with them, that this is a real need with them, that they really truly want to be a slave, that they want to be submissive to me, that this is something they've thought about all their lives.
You know, it's very interesting, because we live in a world that is so very violent, and there is so much violence against women. And I think any woman who doesn't acknowledge that there is no room for that is walking around with blinders on. And yet you play a part in a violent scene. What are your feelings about that? Because it's often carried too far.
You know, it's interesting that you asked me this question, because I thought about it just yesterday. And one of the good things about what I do is I'm giving people a place to express some of these violent fantasies. And again, we're doing it. The scene is talked about up front, and we're enacting it. Now, I believe that some women who are in abusive relationships actually probably have some submissive needs within them, and what they do is they provoke their mate. They're provoking them so that the mate gets upset and maybe slaps them. Now, wouldn't this be nice if these kind of things could be talked about up front, and they could actually maybe do a scene where if she got to be naughty, he could spank her, and then that could just, it could be there, those needs might be expressed and fulfilled, and then they can go on with their lives.
Have you ever been in an abusive relationship?
Yes, I have.
And you enjoyed it?
No, I didn't, no.
So I think then the audience is getting the message here. I find it hard that you equate the two, because I know anybody in an abusive relationship is in such a painful situation that the idea of provoking to again be abused is so repulsive to them.
Yes, it is, but it's a need inside of them, and maybe if they understood that they had a bit of this need.
I think it's a need for the perpetrator rather than a need for the abused.